Hello, I think we're live. I hope we're live. And I think Malcolm's here. I don't know if you guys heard all that in stereo before, but I'm always very creative in making sure that my intro is. I see Malcolm's big smile. I'm just going to add Malcolm to the stage. Did you hear my intro there, Malcolm?
No, I didn't. But I don't know. Are you as hoarse as I am from screaming today?
I just may be. I've been screaming at all sorts of things. Yeah, I had it open in Substack too, but I forgot to turn the sound down, and I'm in StreamYard. So the intro video was like, it almost sounded like old school, like Run DMC. It was like, dun, 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 dun. I was like, all right, now I really need to get Malcolm in here. I'm just going to look like a weird white boy trying to rap and shit. I mean, I guess it worked out for the Beastie Boys, right? So, maybe I could do it. How have you been, man?
Oh, actually, furious. I was just on Dean Blundell's podcast, or a Substack live with Lev Parnas, and I was talking about something that's sitting in front of me. I'm literally waiting for a video to download before I pull the trigger on my latest Substack. And I have been focused on all the geopolitical craziness that's been going on.
Right.
And then, as you know, I'm going back to Greenland for a second mission where I was last year, which we thought, between myself, the efforts of a Danish intelligence officer, former Danish intelligence officer, and a local activist in Greenland, we thought we had pretty much thrown Trump and their people off track because the Danes had listened to recommendations that we made. And they started stationing fighter aircraft, infantry soldiers, special forces, and new ships in Greenland around the capital.
Unlike JD Vance, you didn't get every door slammed in your face.
Oh no, they loved me. And this is the thing
people
about
actually talk to you. I bet.
They loved me. I mean, I was on Danish television, and I had people Danes off of cruise ships go, "Oh, you're that guy I saw 2 days ago," on their version of 60 Minutes.
Do you think we can make a deal with them where we don't take Greenland, but Denmark takes us?
I wish. Denmark's nice.
Right, like that. My kids in college, that would be so much cheaper. Like people are nice, and like I'd have universal health care. It'd be great. I mean, we would actually have all the things that democracy is supposed to have.
Yeah, it would be super awesome. Right? And we'd be respected.
That's what I'm going to start making an argument for. I think if you want to join me in that, I'm going to argue that Denmark take us over. I think that is the best way to go. I think you have given me the secret plan to how to do this. I want everybody to know. Malcolm knows this. Does anybody know where we get most of our Botox from?
Oh, yeah.
A place called Denmark. Can you imagine the droopy faces at Mar-a-Lago? If Denmark stopped, I mean, everybody would be walking around looking, they'd be looking a little bit like
Christy Nome in South Park.
Exactly. I mean, if I were them, man, the Botox card's the one to play. I mean,
don't forget, we also get all of our insulin and GLP-1, like Ozempic, all 100%.
Oh my God,
from Denmark.
Ozempic and Botox. I mean, literally 98% of Mar-a-Lago covered at this point. And I think it's a conservative estimate. So, I mean, them, I'm threatening us with that. That is the way to go. Okay. I mean, all joking aside, and you and I still will joke because we have to keep a sense of humor about. I mean, I sit here. I'm literally having conversations with people today, like, let's game this out. And I was telling a friend of mine that I was going to talk to you, and I was saying we're literally gaming out. We're going to talk about Article 4, which I think we need to educate people on of the NATO treaty. We're gaming out like what happens if we were to find our way to, which is to say, attack an incursion against Greenland, how that would be taken by other members of NATO if we're still a member at that time. And I mean, again, it's one of those half dozen times where I've sat here and I can't fucking believe I'm having this conversation. I mean, I cannot believe I'm having this conversation, but we have to.
I've been on Times Radio, the Trump Report with Louis Sykes out of London, at least 4 times on this subject. And someone on Twitter retweeted the original one from last March.
Okay.
Where first time I ever spoke to Louis Sykes about this whole scenario. And I said, I'm on my way. I'm leaving here in a day or so to go to Greenland. Then I came back. I did another one post-Greenland mission, did one in September, and then did one last week. And now he's coming with me to go to Greenland again. Him and Dean Blundell and some other, news media people because you cannot talk about Greenland unless you've been on the ground in Greenland. You can't. I spent almost a month there, but when I'm done here,
Can I talk about it a little bit. I've been to Denmark. I haven't been to Greenland.
But I've been to
Copenhagen, which is a beautiful city. I'd love to live in.
Love Copenhagen.
I've not been to Denmark. I've not been to Greenland though. I'd love to go.
But it's important to get the feel of who the people are. First off, the Kaliset, as they call themselves, or Kaliset, as they call themselves, the Inuit people there.
That doesn't sound very American.
It does. It does. They have no history of any kind of intertribal warfare, right? And the only thing, they are a survival culture. Everything. It's the city of Nuuk has 17,000 people. Well, so does my village here. The town nearest to me has about that many people. One neighborhood in Albany has that many people.
Right. So I grew up in a bunch of buildings in New York City in a neighborhood that I think maybe the 4 blocks I lived on, there are about 16, 18 buildings. I don't know. That might have been approaching 17,000 people.
Yeah. So, and when you go to the Capitol, people know who you are. They will see you 3, 4, 5 times a day because there's nothing you can do. It's tiny. It's very tiny.
There's moving from New York to here. I live in Cincinnati, and there's only like 320,000 or 330,000 people, and I thought this was really small. 17. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So people know everybody. Everybody who does anything is aware. You can run into the members of the parliament. There's like 30 people or something like that. The prime minister, you see him all the time. He has his little bungalow downtown in Old Town, and he has no armed security. He has no armored vehicles. Right. He's got his bike, or he walks, and he has a car available to him for official government business. But you could drive across that town in less than 10 minutes, end to end, right? From remote section to remote section, right?
And let me say one thing quickly, and I let you continue, Malcolm. I just wanted to welcome all the sparklers. It seems that House Sparks has been kind enough to raid us and send all of his folks. We love you guys. Thank you for being here. We're talking about an important topic today. We got an expert. You guys have to all know who Malcolm is, and I want to hear how Malcolm maybe can help keep us out of World War III over Greenland. So there we go.
Oh, geez. Technically, on a U.S.-NATO war, which is what I started writing my Substack on, the coming U.S.-NATO war, because people have a misconception that NATO, if the United States were to withdraw from NATO, that NATO would end. And that's not true. NATO is a treaty. A treaty, when ratified, has the force of law for your nation. So every country that has signed the NATO treaty has to remain within the treaty. There's actually no vehicle within NATO to dissolve it.
Like a contract, but you have to. Sometimes there's an exit in these, but there is none here.
Right.
So
the United States could just withdraw and say we're now in violation of the treaty. We don't care. That's fine. We can do that. But here's the kicker.
Yeah. Now tell everybody what they'll do.
NATO's 32 countries, and if the United States withdraws, NATO just becomes 31 countries. It does not dissolve. It is not held together by the United States. Even though we're the largest army in NATO, the largest force, and the largest funder, we We don't run NATO. It's run out of Brussels,
Yeah,
Belgium.
is anybody ever, if you've been there, I mean, I went to over the
Yes, NATO
building,
headquarters.
really nice. I at one point when I was younger, I was, when I was doing my international affairs stuff,
Yes.
I was thinking about doing, when I was at SEPA, I was thinking about doing an internship there, and really, it's a great area. I mean, Brussels is a fun town.
Yep.
So yeah, again, people need
That's
to
like,
understand, and this is where you can so help educate, and I'll do my best too with this. I mean, it's not like the UN, even the UN, which is in New York. And again, it's not like we run the UN, although being on the Security Council gives us way too much power. But it is in Brussels. It is a multi-party, as Malcolm just said, treaty, 32 members. I'm gonna tee this one up for Malcolm that I bet he would get to even if I didn't ask him. But let me play the role of the guy asking the question. I'm gonna be corporate media for a second and really pretend I don't know anything about anything. Malcolm Nance, what would happen if we were to remove ourselves from NATO and we still had all those bases and multi-million-dollar aircraft and other equipment of ours worth billions or hundreds of billions or trillions sitting over there? What would they do with all of that?
Well, here's the kicker, and this discussion has gotten so out of control. It was ludicrous last year when I went there. Like I said, I was on their TV version, the Danish version of their 60 Minutes. It's the most watched political show in the country. Everyone has to watch it, including the Prime Minister and the King, because everyone reads about it. And I was on when they had said they were now increasing spying on Denmark and Greenland, which is hilarious. Which to me, I know how that happens, right? I'm the CIA officer tasked with it, right? Here's my left hand. I reach over and I pull the old CIA fact book out for Denmark, right? That was published in like 1964. And I'll have just as much information as I ever could get by trying to increase spying, because no one's going to fucking Greenland because they all know who you are. They can see you. I don't know if we use bad language here, but
fucking A, we do.
That being said, NATO is a treaty organization. There is a vehicle to leave NATO. It's called invoking NATO Article 13. Article 13 is when members want to leave it, and it doesn't get voted on, right? Because we're mentally already withdrawing from NATO because Trump's whole mindset is I saved NATO. NATO is now, people are ramping up their defenses to 5%.
Well, also, as you know, I don't know, I just want to make sure our audience knows, we release this document, I believe it's every year, the National Security Strategy document, and we talk about NSS. We talk about, it's usually pretty boring, so nobody's really paying attention. It's the usual. We stand for
usually 300 to 500 pages.
Right. Like we stand for Right. This time it was probably like a page and a half, all handwritten in crayon by Donald Trump. But
31 cover to cover.
That's ridiculous.
Including index and appendix.
And this one, from my read, and I did read what I found online, was Putin's awesome. He's a really cool kid. I want to be able to sit at his table. NATO, the EU, NATO, horrible. Not EU as much. They talk more about NATO. Yeah. It's horrible and does everything wrong. And that's right. Their countries have changed since we made the treaty with them, which again means immigration. Wink, wink. So they're not the same countries anymore. They're weak now because you want someone strong like Donald Trump, who has bone spurs in his bone spurs, and so basically, it's you're right. I mean, it's not even only just mentally. This document almost seems to go halfway towards pulling us out of NATO
Let's talk a little bit about the history of that, because in 2018, Trump met the Prime Minister of Sweden. This is how far back this goes. And he was in a private meeting with the Prime Minister of Sweden, and Trump was complaining about NATO. And he goes, well, I don't know how you can stand being in NATO. And at that time, Sweden wasn't in NATO, right? Sweden wouldn't join NATO until 2022. And so the Prime Minister said, we are not members of NATO. We just cooperate with NATO. And Trump said to him, that's what I want from the United States. I don't want the commitment anymore. And that's his mindset in 2018.
Right, as if he would cooperate whether he was a member or not, right? I mean,
right.
Surprised he didn't ask them to define what the word meant.
Well, worse, this was like a week before his first meeting with Jens Stoltenberg at the time, who was the president, the
Well,
secretary, president of NATO, right?
yeah.
And so Jens Stoltenberg sits down with Trump, and Trump starts complaining about how they're not making their dues, right? He thinks
Yeah.
the amount of money that they have to commit is dues to NATO. Like, here, you've got to commit 2% of your GDP, and that's your cash contribution to the HOA that is NATO. And the guy, first off, and then he starts saying, well, this will impact this economy and that can impact that economy. And Stoltenberg suddenly realized Trump did not understand what NATO was. He thought NATO was the European Union and that it was an economic alliance.
I was going to say trade alliance. So,
and Stoltenberg had to sit down and explain to him NATO was a military defense alliance in like 5-year-old terms. Right. And Trump left confused.
Well, Trump, from what I understood, answered very quickly, man, woman, person, camera. Okay, sorry. I mean, dude, this stuff, again, I have to joke again because it's so ridiculous. And again, just to even get to that point where you're sitting there and you're saying, I think NATO, we're members of NATO. I think NATO is an alliance that's economic. I'm sorry, I think it's the EU. Well, if it's only European, then I guess we're in Europe. Is that the what Trump thought we're part of Europe?
Yeah, okay. If that, like I said, John von Stoltenberg had to explain to him that this was not a trade agreement and that NATO doesn't make economic decisions. And then he tried to explain the 2% of GDP is your commitment to your defense establishment in order that your nation would have enough equipment for your forces that would operate at a standard that is uniform across all nations, right?
Yep.
Trump thought, no, that's your fucking golf fee. And that if you paid that, you could get into the big Avengers building, or that's what NATO headquarters looks like, right? It looks like the Avenger headquarters.
I wonder if they modeled it on
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s headquarters.
Yeah, I've thought about that. I wondered if they modeled it on that because it looks so much like it.
Yeah. Wouldn't be surprised. But that being said, yes, the United States can leave NATO, but NATO won't collapse. NATO will remain 31 nations committed to their unified defense of Europe. And to be quite honest, they would gain a lot more by dropping us and getting Ukraine, which is now the most experienced combat army in the world. Wow, they are the world leaders in drone warfare. They could neutralize all of our
off with the truck. Oh my God, that still is the stuff of James Bond legends.
Yep. So
that however 1,000 miles into, I mean, that was beautiful. And that
let me answer your question. What happens if we?
I think people need to know this.
Let's do two things. What happens if we decide we're leaving NATO? Scenario 1, and scenario 2. What happens if we say "F you"? We're going to invade Greenland. We just do it, right? Scenario 1 would be we've had disputes between NATO members. Turkey, we've had at least 4 disputes between Turkey and the United States. When we invaded Iraq, they invoked NATO Article 4, which is a all-hands discussion to either register their displeasure or negotiate, right, a cessation of hostility or anger. So they would invoke Article 4.
That's Article 4, because all you generally will hear about is Article 5. I know we've got some very smart people in here. We also have some mouth-breathing Trumpers, and I know it's sort of like they only think there's a Second Amendment and no others. They may think there's only an Article 5 and no others, but there is an Article 4, and this is how disputes are resolved. So one country requests that they
say that we have a complaint, like Greece and Turkey. Greece and Turkey started clashing over Aegean Islands, and in the 1960s and 70s, they did it a couple of times. And both Greece and Turkey called for NATO Article 4, which is mediation, right, by NATO over two dispute nations that are now pointing guns at each other. Another one was when Turkey invaded Cyprus. Turkey has invoked it more than, or it
I was
has
going to say
had it
Turkey has
invoked
been,
more than anybody,
right.
right?
And
Turkey
yeah,
invades Cyprus. Turkey and Desert Storm. Turkey and the collapse of Syria and ISIS. Turkey, I think in the
pattern
1960s in the
here, Malcolm. I
GNC.
can't figure out what the pattern is, but I'm seeing a pattern.
Yes, but the point is Turkey gets to have the right to invoke and
Right.
express their displeasure before it escalates. Next comes the treaty's heart, which is the commitment that if one nation is attacked, then every nation must provide political, logistics, military support to the attacked nation.
Yes.
And the only nation that has ever been attacked where NATO Article 5 was invoked was the United
States
States.
of America on 9/11. That I will never forget. We didn't.
And the United States didn't
We
invoke
rejected
it.
it. Yeah, we rejected it, but we,
No, we didn't reject
Well,
it.
okay, I'm sorry. They offered, said if you invoke it, we will come to your aid, and we wanted to go it alone, being the geniuses that we were.
No, it was invoked.
Was it
I
actually
think it
invoked?
was. I think it was automatically invoked, and
I
that's
didn't know
why
that.
everybody went to Afghanistan.
But okay. I thought we had actually. Maybe it's just something the Bush administration said. I seem to remember them saying like, "Oh, we don't need your help," or "We don't need your."
No, Article 5 was invoked.
Okay.
We went to war. I mean, 30 NATO or 28 NATO countries went to war over that, including non-NATO countries. Ukraine, Sweden
Yeah.
at the time was providing lots of support. And I know I was in Iraq, in Basra, and the Danish ran, had their Danish, DaneCon unit, Danish controlled units there. The Danish hospital field medical teams there were brilliant. I bought a child that was 80% burned over his body to that hospital, and the Danes did brilliantly. But the point is this, this is now become a play toy by, if Donald Trump were an actual secret agent of Russia, he could not do more damage than he's doing right now. And I know it's like Putin wakes up every morning and goes, when the fuck did I recruit him? I must just forgot the day that he came to me and we put him on contract, because he's living up to a contract that I can't remember us signing between him as a Russian fucking KGB asset, right? The way that we would have liked to have had in the 60s. He is literally the Manchurian candidate there to
amazing,
do.
Right? The movie predicted it, and so many of these films, it's like Network, and ended up predicting our current media. And that You're right. That movie, I mean, it may not be a guy that was brainwashed, just a guy who's brainwashed himself that the only things that matter are money and power. And he figures Putin's probably the richest man in the world, which he probably is.
And he thinks he's using them.
Yeah.
That's the kicker. He thinks he's using them. So all of this being said, scenario one is that Denmark suddenly starts seeing moves. And here's why they're going to see moves. The United States, there's a lot of people who love NATO. And there are congressmen, senators, generals, CIA. I mean, I personally think the CIA would not go along for this ride.
What about the generals? And I mean, would they go along for this?
I think General Kane would. He's chairman of the Joint Chiefs, but I don't think any of the other Joint Chiefs would. I think they would have to go, whoa, there, Slick.
Yeah, I would have to think, if you're going to put the brakes on to something, I would think that would be the thing.
But what you would have is very public resignations and statements of the president has lost his fucking mind.
Yes.
Right?
The kind of pressure that I wish we had right now, that if it was coming from, I get that the military, and it's noble, is apolitical. You always want that in a democracy. But there are moments when it's time to break glass in case of emergency or pull the parachute cord. And we're at that point. And I wish,
I think so.
Yeah, I wish more than would do it right now, because it would put a lot of pressure on in terms of the 25th Amendment.
Let me explain what will come next.
Yeah, go ahead.
So these generals, intelligence officers would start fucking leaking to Denmark, right? I was just telling someone in this last podcast, I go, just check your mail. There's people who will fly to Denmark and will do what happened we had before the war in Ukraine. Someone gave us a full color plastic coated flip chart copy of Russia's invasion plan of Ukraine. We had it for like 5 months. And everything, and Russia was like, fuck it, we don't care if you have it. Everything that was on that plan happened, right? And they got their ass kicked. That's the part they didn't have happen. Somebody in the United States would be like, they would have to have one of those Amazon boxes in front of their house for all the deliveries of U.S. war plans to them to warn them, because people aren't going to throw away 80 years. 80 years of U.S. cooperation since this really started with the landing at Normandy, right? Technically 1941 when the Eagle Squadron got over there, where U.S. allied cooperation. There are people out there that believe in this shit and are ready to fucking put a spoke in Trump's thing.
As bad as stuff has happened, and it has, it's not like, oh my God, all wars came to an end. But I think it's hard to argue that this didn't help prevent a World War III, and it helped lead to more stable relations, helped lead to trade relationships, helped lead to better understanding between countries. And I mean, it has been, one of the probably foremost reasons why we've enjoyed the peace and prosperity we have, which is why whenever they bring up that stupid, like the old, we're getting ripped off by the trade and we're getting, I just want someone to force him like in like Clockwork Orange with his eyes pinned open to read like Bretton Woods and some of these things. And it was like, this was the plan. We wanted to, yes, we knew we would lose a little bit at times. The point was, if you stabilize this area and there isn't war, we all end up prospering.
You're stabilizing the whole of the Marshall Plan.
Right.
Was to rebuild Europe, all right, as a stable economic U.S. market. Here's what kills me the most. We fucking invented globalism to sell U.S. goods worldwide. And they're like, you're one of them neoliberal globalists. Bitch, I defended you in globalism and your fucking access to goddamn lit chocolates your entire life. Denmark, by the way, or Brussels, your entire life. Right? Back when you guys were proud to say you were Danes and Swedes and, all these characters. But here's what would happen next. NATO Article 4, Denmark would say, hey, we've seen enough. We're invoking NATO Article 4. They would bring all the treaty nations into the Brussels headquarters in an emergency meeting, and they would say, we have intelligence that you are about to attack us, right? And at this point, this is all the secret meetings that are happening right now will come to the top of the table. As I said to the Danish Prime Minister, I spoke out loud to the Danish Prime Minister when I was on their version of 60 Minutes. I said, they are not looking for intelligence about how you're going to defend or what your politics are. They're looking for one thing. What will you do when they act? That's all they want to know. Are the Danes going to fold or are the Danes going to fight? And I warned them. I said, the minute you decide to fold and not take any precautions now in advance of that, your government is over in the first minute. And you will go down in Danish history as the person that lost the first U.S.-Danish war.
Hey, maybe your name gets to be as famous as, like, let's say, Quisling or Patent.
Yes, and they got a Quisling there. They got a guy waiting in the wings, former bricklayer. He's Denmark's, he's Greenland's MAGA guy. And all my, we can go to his house. I know where his house is. I mean, you could just look at it. And this guy is
and see, ask him if he's got any bank transfers from Putin, like Le Pen did.
Well, I'm certain he has, because he gets flown all around the world to all these MAGA conservative events as the Denmark's MAGA. And I said this on TV. I said this on Greenland's TV. I said, If you wake up one morning and Nook Airport is controlled by the U.S. Special Forces and they've arrested all the cops and they're downtown patrolling your streets and they take in the prime minister, that motherfucker's going to be sitting in the prime minister's office.
Yeah. Yeah. They have to be ready. I mean, it sounds like from everything you and many others have said, they are preparing. They are all
they took some precautions.
Seriously. I mean,
they took some precautions, which we thought put an end to this. They established F-16 fighter base of just 3 F-16s in Kangerlussuaq, which is the largest airfield in Greenland, but it's in the middle. It's where all of our ski planes.
There, nobody can pronounce, probably.
Yeah, but it's all of our ski planes fly in and out of there, supporting the Arctic missions, and it can handle fighter jets. Now, you might say, well, what about our base in the North, Patufic? Yeah, what about your base in the North and Patufic? Here's how Greenland's situated. Here's the top, here's the bottom, right? The capital is right about here at the bottom.
Yeah.
The top is where our base is. That is 1,000 miles over a 2-mile deep sheet of ice. And there is fucking nothing between A, that base, and B, the capital of Nook. So if you
we just have a couple dog sleds pull up. I mean, you know, we'd be fine, right? Like,
they've got serious patrol up there. Those guys are badass.
Seriously, this is so ludicrous. So what I want you to do, if I may direct you here, because I just think it's important for people to hear this, is what would happen to our various bases in Western Europe, in NATO countries, to our various. Okay, I'll let you get to that because I just think that's too important a one. That
let me start with Patufic Space Base.
Okay,
there's 150 Space Force people there and some Air Force support people there, right?
I still can't believe that's an actual group.
I know, 150. All of the life support, the generators that keep that place warm, is run by, I'm not joking, a Danish guy named Lars.
I love it. Just one guy named Lars hanging there.
He's the head of facilities on that base. He's Danish. The support personnel that work with him are Inuit from the village of Patufic nearby, or Kanatortak nearby. There's a small village. All of the food, oil, fuel, everything that runs the generators that keep that base. They have a substation that's run on generators, right? Because generators are reliable. The whole base is powered by fuel and food bought there by Canada, not the United States. And it ain't bought in by airplanes.
So far, I actually, knew a decent amount. I had no clue about that. That's interesting.
Not bought in by airplanes, bought in by massive reloading ships that can only do resupply 1 or 2 times per year. Okay. And when they do,
planning here is just brilliant by the Trump.
When they do, they have to be escorted. Did I mention it's like 4 or 5 days steaming at like 4 or 5 knots? Because you have to have, this time of year, icebreakers have to precede you into those seas. They're at 84 north. The North Pole is 90.
As I say, so we couldn't just do some James Bond shit and have some people put on parachutes and ice skate, like with the wind blowing them up.
First off, your plane will have to fly 3,000 miles from the United States around Canada to avoid Canadian airspace, right? To parachute into the southernmost base. Now, let me tell you something. The southern airport is a single strip that was built in 1941 for B-17s. It was used all throughout the Cold War until like 1970 or something. It's now the local airstrip. It would have to be upgraded to handle anything other than a C-130, and that might go crashing off the end into all the rusted debris of hundreds of former fuel barrels and trucks we left there since the 1950s. You can go get a fucking ice truck from there from 1955 and refurbish it and move around. That place is fucking ancient. And then when you're there, no one's giving you jack shit because everything's bought in from Denmark and Canada. Or you go out and
with you in your luggage or something. I want to go on this trip. This sounds like fun.
Well, we got to fundraise for it because there's one thing I can tell you about Greenland. It's one of the most expensive places on the planet. Fuck Gestad, okay? Monte Carlo, where I've been to Gestad and Monte Carlo.
Try going into the casino there.
And let me tell you, don't even think about going. And we were just doing the budget for this. The flight to Copenhagen's $500 now this time of year from New York City. 500 round trip.
That's amazing.
The flight,
you have to fly to Copenhagen and then from there.
Yes, because that's the only way to get there this time of year. The flight from Copenhagen to Nuuk, which is just 4 hours, is $1,600 US. Oh my God. Round trip.
Trump is killing the dollar, so no, I know you have to buy it in there. Problem is, you have to probably buy it in euros, and you're
even worse. Hotels are $350 a night because there's only 3 of them. And it's fucking tiny. And did I mention the Arctic weather? So I mean, I mountain climb.
Like if you're from Northeast or Midwest, and it gets freaking cold around here.
If you're from Minnesota, you're good to go.
I was just say, you're from Minnesota, you're probably pretty good to go.
If you've climbed Mount Denali, okay, or if you are I'm a mountaineer. I had gear for base camp and Camp 1 at Mount Everest. Okay.
I climbed Mount Washington in New Hampshire, and it got
in a car, didn't you?
I think that was the tall. I think it's the tallest one on the. Is it on the eastern?
Did you drive by car?
I'm sorry.
Did you go in your car?
No, I mean I climbed up that.
Oh, you walked up it. All right.
Yeah, I climbed that son of a bitch. And you know what? Like you got to the top there, and I think it's the tallest one in the eastern half.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. Like it was the summer, right? And it was freaking freezing. It was snowing.
There's signs all over that mountain that says it will fucking kill you with a change of weather in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Midsummer, you can get literal Arctic conditions at the top of Mount Washington. So my point is, if you don't know how to wear
normally, then because and I didn't die because my parents probably would have sued the camp.
Well, Greenland is here's the weather in Greenland can best be described by Clint Eastwood in that old 1970s movie, The Eiger Sanction, where he's climbing the Eiger, which by the way is like a day hike now for most mountaineers, right? But the Eiger was a difficult mountain back then. And Clint Eastwood, they tell him, you have to assassinate this guy, and he's going to be one of 4 of you climbing the Eiger. And Clint Eastwood goes, I don't need to climb the mountain. He'll do it for me. That's Greenland.
Yeah.
Greenland's weather changes on a dime. I had 3 flights canceled in Greenland. My ferry, that was the scariest part.
Where did you take the ferry from?
I took the ferry from Ilulissat, which is the land that creates icebergs. The iceberg that sank the Titanic came from the ice fjord of Ilulissat, which has 3-story, no, did I say 3-story? 3 skyscraper high cliff wall of ice that calves off and creates icebergs forever. And there's ice in there that is from the first ice age. So they come out at the end
of itself is I love that kind of stuff.
I took one of the first ferries that in the when the spring weather, the end of winter weather allowed the ferry to start. So I took one of the first ferries from north to south, and for 12 hours we hit icebergs.
All right. So, oh my God. So I helped you raise. I remember. I think I helped you raise money last time you went.
Yeah.
If I helped you raise money this time, but I raised like an extra like 3 or 4 grand, can I go with you?
Negative. You're going to need 10 grand for that.
Okay, so if I raise an extra 3 times what I just said,
if you get your airfare, I think one part of our group is coming just for 5 days. I'm going to the south, then I'm going to the north to Kanjlushwak, which is the biggest air base there. So I've got to do 3 more trips. By the way, each leg of those short airplane trips that are all 2 to 3 hours is $1,000 per leg. So yeah, you could, if you raise the money, you could get to
money,
Greenland.
I can do it. So if I talk to
Sure.
our friends and family. So if anybody there feels like putting in a super chat of $1.99, get me started. Come on,
yeah,
folks.
get 2,000 of those. Get 2,000 of those, and you can start thinking about coming to Greenland.
I want to go with Malcolm. I think I would have so much fun.
Oh yeah, and I know where all the bars are. All 3 of them.
I grew up in New York, and I freezed my butt off. It's look at that. Michael McAndrews gave me $10 to get me started. There we go. It's all. Thank you, my friend, Michael McAndrews.
Well, tomorrow I'm starting an emergency
media, and he is a member, which people should know. But go ahead.
I'm starting an emergency GoFundMe because we're going to probably leave in a week, and because there's a timeline that Trump hinted at. About a week ago, he said, we'll be meeting on that in 20 days. And what that's probably going to be is a principals meeting to make a decision. And that's what happened with Venezuela. They met in July and made a secret presidential memorandum at the end of July. And by the end of August, the task force was off of Venezuela. And then he made a cryptic remark saying, and then it'll be 2 months from now. He wasn't talking about the meeting. In 2 months, the ice floes break. And it's the first time ships will be able to navigate from the south to the capital. And by the way, there's only one ship that's operating in the month of March. One ferry, 1 day, one direction, and only going the southern route, not the northern route.
Let me ask you this in all seriousness, because that's a quick turnaround. I have kids and stuff like that. So if it had been a longer term plan, I seriously would very seriously consider going.
You can still get there
if you would have me. But I mean, we'd have fun, Malcolm. I mean, I could already see
believe it or not, this isn't a one-time thing.
Vodka shots and actually that's too Russian. We'll figure something else out. But
they got great vodka there. They make vodka
stuff,
from Norway.
You brought up Sweden earlier. I remember when I went there, Glug. If you've ever had that.
Glug
is good stuff, man. It hits you. But I have another idea. I know you'll be streaming to your channel, I'm sure, on all of that.
Uh-huh.
And you obviously have very large channels. But if we wanted to get this out to an even larger group so that we could do your channels, and if you wanted to add mine in and stream here too, we tend to get about 600,000, 700,000, 800,000 views a day. Mm-hmm. Why not have your, and that's not including the YouTube and whatever. I'm just talking about the Substack. So why not find a way for you to, seriously, why don't we stream you here? I would love to do that if you're interested. I mean, again, just the more channels you can stream to, the more folks they'll be aware.
Well, we can do that. It's going to be a relatively fast turnaround. We can stream from Greenland. They got very good Wi-Fi because you know why? The Danish run it. And by the way, now, I pay for Wi-Fi here in upstate New York. Why is it 5 times faster in Europe? Because they don't throttle it. They don't sell it by speed. And it's
for the same reason that everything is 5 times faster and better in Europe, including trains, including getting healthcare that will save your life, because they actually invest in their people. They don't invest in a creepy group of predator billionaires who all hung out with Jeffrey Epstein, and want to bomb other countries. And when not doing that, shoot innocent women in the head, in the face, in Minneapolis. And I'm quite serious. I mean, that Europe went on a path towards social democracy, the betterment of everybody. What the concept of democracy is, the public square. We went to, starting with Reagan, and that was the mentality, and it got a lot worse each Republican step along the way. But our mentality here is a couple billionaires should have the kinds of resources that are absolutely ludicrous they could never spend in 1,000 years, and we should be taking SNAP away from kids. So that's my only answer to you. And frankly, that's why we needed to destroy them politically coming up in November, because they represent Jeff Bezos. Although, I don't know, they may not like Bezos and his wife anymore if we stop getting that Botox, because Bezos is going to start looking like Bezos circa 1998 again. He's not going to look like a James Bond villain anymore. And I don't know, man.
A cheerful Bond villain.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Cliff, for having me on, and we'll get back to you. And this is a great discussion.
Well, I'm
gonna finish my Substack.
What'd you say?
I gotta finish my Substack. I'm so angry about that shooting in Minneapolis, and then them kidnapping this 17-year-old kid who they left on the sidewalk crying. And it's just made me furious. And the funny thing is, it makes me think, should I, it's like when I went to Ukraine, I was fighting for the Eastern Wall of democracy, and I look behind me and America's crumbling,
That's the worst. It must be the worst feeling. I mean, you're there.
Horrible.
At least as horrible as what's happened to Ukraine, they come together as a country. They come together to fight. They still have a belief in their democracy, in purpose, in their common culture and their sovereignty. And then here we have this lazy, sloppy faction of people that, I mean, again, if you can look at Donald Trump and see anything other than disgrace at this point, you don't have your faculties. You really can't think logically. It's not a tough decision. This isn't like Mitt Romney versus,
Right.
or Jeff Flake or Republicans who I can disagree with and think you're wrong about a lot of stuff, most stuff, in my opinion. But you believe in democracy, you believe in America,
right? The big picture. We're Americans together. Now It's not like that. We have a virus that's infected America. We have a cancer.
Isn't this? Can I ask you one more thing before you leave? Because you are an expert in this. I was reading a whole sort of retrospective isn't the right word, but a write-up on the early days of Pinochet, who, by the way, we helped install everybody. And the fact that everybody in Chile, anybody has forgiven us there, means we should have goodwill towards everybody, but we don't. It was explaining how they were going forward and how quickly they were undoing facets of democracy. And of course, the big thing they did with disinformation is they polarized so that people couldn't come to a common sense of reality, couldn't come to, they broke their culture apart. Does this not feel kind of a lot like that in what they're doing purposely every day here?
Absolutely. But, I like to fall back on the historic analogy that this really feels like Boston, 1774. Minneapolis is Boston Commons, 1774. Everything that's happening is about Boston, right? They're having the Tea Party. They've now got soldiers landing there to suppress them, to get rid of their elective government. They're nullifying Governor Walz. They nullified the police. There are 5 times more ICE agents than police officers in Minneapolis.
Yep. And for people who don't say this, first of all, first man to die, Crispus Attucks, was black. Didn't stop us from eventually, not eventually, then and after having slavery and whatever. The first man to die for the idea of America in the Boston Massacre was black. And an even more important lesson to be learned from, no, not more important, as important, lesson to be learned from that is that, guess what, folks? Just like in Nuremberg, where we looked at the worst monsters that history could create in Hermann Goering and Rudolf Hess, and said Robert Jackson and Harry Truman and Ike said, we're going to do this differently. We're going to create international law by trying them, because that's part of what led to the NATO order and all of this. Even there, though we could line them up against the wall, we are going to give them a fair trial. Well, the same thing happened back, around in 1774, 75, I think it was. When
actually, it was 1770, the Boston Massacre. Yeah.
John Adams, you may have heard of him, everyone, volunteered to defend the British soldiers who shot and killed Americans. And he did that because he believed in this thing called democracy. He believed that everybody deserved an equal and fair representation. Even though he personally abhorred what they had done, He went and he defended him. That is America. Crispus Attucks is America. John Adams defending the British soldiers. That's democracy. Actually, that's what takes strength. Not playing on a golf course and cheating and having bone spurs and, and eating like a 4-year-old and all the other things. That's not, and, being some macho guy who disparages other groups of people or women or what strength does that take? Yeah, that's just really spouting crap. Strength is standing up when people are ready to pelt you with stuff and saying, how dare you defend these British soldiers? You say they deserve a fair trial too. So I'm glad you brought up that period of time, because that is what America needs to look back to. That's the spirit of common good and democracy and due process that we need to regain.
Well, we also have people who have this feeling inside them that their community is being torn apart. And most people were on the side of the British.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people don't get these days how many. I mean, Ben Franklin's own son moved back to England because he could not get with the U.S. program. There are a lot of other cases like that too. Benedict Arnold went back too, but slightly different circumstances.
Yeah, well, he's a real trade ambassador.
Aaron Burr too. But you know what? I'm going to let you go.
All right.
Okay, so Malcolm Nance, everybody, you can find. You've got Malcolm Nance. I think you've rebranded over here too to Black Man Spy. Am I correct?
Well, on Substack or YouTube? On Substack,
you already
it's still
had Black
Malcolm.
Man Spy on YouTube, but I saw when I tagged you to promote the show, I saw it said Malcolm
there's
Nance.
Black Man Spy and Special Intelligence. If it's a video, it's Black Man Spy. If it's text, it's Special Intelligence. But my Substack is malcolmnance.substack.com, and you can find all of my videos and articles. And even I put all of my YouTube videos that are significant onto Substack. So like I always say, it's free to subscribe, follow me, and listen, because I get freaking furious these days, and I get pretty shouty.
I just had one of those direct to camera, and there are going to be a lot more where I said some words that maybe make Adam Kinzinger upset, because I don't think he didn't like what Jacob Fry said, and I'm a believer that sometimes
he'll get over it.
You overuse swear words, you dilute them, but sometimes the only thing you can say when something like that happens is fuck. I mean, I don't know what else to say. So listen, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for, you're going to share with me when you've got your GoFundMe, and we're going to promote that here. Malcolm's going to go to Greenland and honestly help us all. We're going to live stream you here. And you can find him at Black Man Spy on YouTube. You can find him here also at Malcolm Nance, and already, Black Man Spy is the videos, and already, what's the written one? I'm sorry, a million things.
Special Intelligence, but it's all under malcolmnance.substack.com.
See, under malcolmnance.substack.org.com. That's the easiest, one of those dots. That's the easiest way to do it. Listen, my friend, thank you for being here. And yep, I'll get you guys links. I'll see you soon, my friend.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care. We will hang out here because you guys want links. And I need to get you guys links. And Jeff Dural saying here, I love your shouty rants, Malcolm. Well, I'll say to you, give mine a chance, because I've just gotten back into where I can't hold back on those anymore. And I have one that we just released on comparing what we did in Venezuela to Minneapolis, being that fascism likes violence. Fascism likes stealing property, likes invalidating other people's existence. There's a relationship there. A shoot first, ask questions relationship. And we got pretty pissed, as anyone would, after Jonathan Ross, ICE agent, and share his name everywhere, because I hope his life, he has no life after this, not death. I don't wish that upon anybody, because I'm not them, but I hope he's miserable. Just don't want him to be happy. But there will be more, because there's too much going on and there need to be rants. So you've got Malcolm's information there. I'm going to make sure to put in the chat here. We are Blue Amp Media, also known as BAM. We don't need the M on the end because we're too cool for it. So it's blueamp.co. Please go and subscribe. And there'll be extra features we'll be giving you if you are willing to get a paid subscription. We already are going to be adding new verticals. We just added our Latin American one to get perspectives from there about Venezuela. We added one on culture. So we're bringing culture into the conversation. Soon we're going to have one on justice. I'll talk to you guys more about that in the near future. I know I saw Lefty Gramps, my friend here, came in and said, I didn't expect this on Monday. I'm sorry. It was a last minute plan with Malcolm. He could do today, and whenever I can get him on here, I want to. Matt Robeson will be doing the usual one tomorrow at 2, and I will be back with David Schuster on Wednesday and Thursday at 2. And, keep fighting the fight, keep getting the truth out there, whether it's Greenland, Minneapolis, whether it's Venezuela, whether it's tariffs, whatever. Yeah, and certainly the Epstein files. Donald Trump is not mentally competent, is an illegitimate president, and is dangerous to the point of where he's trying to get us into a war with NATO. Words I never thought that would come out of my mouth. So let's, get a real leader in office, somebody who believes in America, not themselves, believes in everything that we were supposed to believe in, the common good and democracy and equality and justice, and pushing to always be better than we were the day before. We need that again here. So thank you for being here on this special edition. And as I say often when I sign off, my friends, as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you a fond farewell.